Hey guys, welcome to the Shooter's Mindset, episode 454 with Jeremiah Wells and Leon Weatherby,
Woo!
L3I. Did I get it? Did I get the hey guys?
You did.
Nailed
You
it.
did. Good
Yep.
job.
Awesome.
Wait for Camden to
Good
say
job,
it.
Corey.
Thank you. So Camden, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It feels like it should be like Thursday, but it's only Taco Tuesday, but we're doing good. Doing good. Finally, it's warming up, so I was able to shoot this weekend, and that felt really good. Really good. How are you,
Yeah,
Corey?
good, good. I got a kick out of your chicken video this weekend.
Oh yeah, my little video bomber. She was checking out my phone while I was trying to film drills. I was like, oh, we're gonna do a little Instagram versus reality moment over here.
Yep, yep. Greg, how are you doing? You shooting any matches over the holiday?
I have not. It's been a hot minute since I've picked up the rifle, but I think we're gonna be picking that back up again in January.
Awesome.
What
Love to
match
hear
are
it.
you going
Probably mine. I should probably show back up to my own match.
to?
Um,
Nice.
I was gonna try and shoot my match this month, but it is AG Cup weekend, so I will be there live streaming AG Cup for everybody at home instead of shooting my own match. But they do have a
Man,
cool thing out there at Clinton House where they got like black lights and neon clays or something going on. So might be bringing the shotgun.
Shotguns at
I
night.
love it.
That'll
And
be
that's a great
fun.
plug, Greg. I like that.
Yes.
So on to the guests of the hour, Jeremiah, Leon. How are you guys doing this evening?
Good.
Doing pretty
Good.
well.
Excited to be
Cool.
here.
Awesome. We're glad to have you.
No, we're
So
happy to
for
have you.
folks like me that have been just kind of like casually aware of L3I, tell us a little about yourselves. Tell us about the company and how it kind of started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll start. I actually had a background. I used to work for Federal. I like to plug them back on the rifle
Oh,
there.
cool.
Worked for Federal, worked for Bushnell, worked for a lot of ammo, and I've been shooting PRS. Started Inroll, PRS
During end of
Rimfire.
2019 is when you started
About
shooting matches,
2019 was when we started shooting matches and some
Nice.
big
Okay.
for that, and kind of obsessed slightly. But
Good, good.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, so I met Jeremiah, about the end of 2019. We both started shooting center fire PRS around the same time, and he was working for Bushnell at the time, and I had worked at another large corporate company in the Kansas City metro. And I was at work one day and I see new employee list on the portal and I see his name. I'm like, I know that guy. So I Skype message him like, hey, what's up? Like, you work here now. And so we just started kind of talking. And I at that time I just got into sport, and so I started like playing around designing different little products, 3D printing stuff. And we just kind of, knocking ideas off each other. And I
Mhm.
started selling a few things online, and it started growing bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm like, I need some help. So that's why I brought Jeremiah in. And L3I kind of became a real thing at that point. We still don't know if it's real. We still
Yeah,
we still refer to it as a business.
it's the running joke. All of our friends know that it's not real, but somehow it's turning into something.
Like, we'll make the comment,
Yeah.
hey, if we do this, people will think we're a real company.
Yeah, but I
It's
mean,
so
really,
fun being in that starting phase when like you were like learning everything, like you've had a career, but then you're like, I get to make this decision now. This is
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
So we are filing taxes now. So I guess
yeah.
it's official.
It's real enough to pay taxes. That's
As you have been since you started.
that's
Yes. No, we've been paying taxes for a few years now, but it's actual like a real amount of taxes, which is kind of sad.
yeah. We
Yeah.
were actually on the show a few years back.
I think it's 2 years.
It
Yeah.
was 2 years ago. We had just we had under a wild whim. We shot the Vortex Sniper Challenge, and we shot different divisions of different people, and we both walked away with some hardware, which was nice. And
Nice.
That's when we met Greg and
we met
Jennifer.
Greg and Jennifer and decided that maybe we should take this a little more serious. Like, it was, I don't know, it seemed like a real thing at that point. And I think
We
on our show
debuted
here,
the
we debuted
Universal mag, yeah.
the very first aftermarket Voodoo mag that had ever been made.
Mhm.
and then it's kind of grown from there. Grown a lot from since then.
Man, that was my feet are still cold from that weekend.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, that's
you
brutal.
didn't have to camp in the freezing rain. I camped.
I mean,
I don't know about that.
Oh, that was that year?
Yeah,
One of the 5 years that they had it raining like constantly.
yeah.
So it's like whenever they made it into an entire series and then they quit
Yeah, yeah,
halfway through the year.
it
We
was
shot the Missouri match and it was at Isaiah Curtis's.
Missouri.
Yeah, it was pretty brutal.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the
33
match.
miles in 3 days in brutal cold.
Oh,
And he had you day one, he had you walk through a stream, so like your feet was wet from the get-go.
Yeah. No, I remember stories about that. I'm so glad I wasn't there.
Corey's like,
Yeah.
my
It was
feet were
brutal.
nice and dry.
Oh, it was brutal.
So I walked into the one little feed store in that one little town after I guess it was 0 day or train up day, whatever it was called. And there was about 5 guys with beards and tan pants in line standing there holding boot boxes. And I looked at them. They go, down the end, make a left, third aisle on the right. I I generally don't fail at being prepared at a match, but my boots had lost their sole like 3 days before I left, and I was like, it's not going to be that bad.
No, no.
There was one section of the ruck where you had to go like a mile uphill, and the mud was so soft, like your foot sunk 6 inches every step.
Oh,
So you had like 20-pound
Yeah.
feet.
Oh, I need to
It was-
find
Oh,
our
yeah.
video of that. We got
I
We
thought I was going
rode-
to stroke out with a heart attack.
yeah.
we rode up that hill behind the big square body, slinging mud, and there's a dude just standing on the back, and he just yells, "Mechanized!" Woo!
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, when that truck passed me, I never hated somebody more in my life.
Oh, that's
Good times though. But yeah, that's kind of what led us to our first appearance on Shooter's Mindset, was making that connection at that match.
good. Well, we're
And then-
glad you're back.
Yeah, and then we saw Greg and Jennifer at SHOT Show last year when we debuted the
Mhm.
Stinger rifle here.
Ooh.
Shameless plug.
Not that one, but
Well, it was another
It was
version of
different.
that.
Good version.
And they're like, you guys need to come back on when it's closer to being ready. And so it took a full year to being closer to being ready. And now it has its own chassis, which this is our Hive chassis prototype.
Love it.
Exciting.
It's
Bring that closer. Is that ready? Let's MSRP on that one.
So this was in the raw right now. The grip is a little bit different, but that's the only difference.
yeah, so this is what the grip will look like.
Ooh.
Okay.
Geometry.
Mm-hmm.
So this chassis kind of came about real fast with little warning from a lot of people, because we had somebody approach us with a chassis design. They wanted to sell us a chassis. And we're like, well, actually, we're going to design and make our own chassis.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, well, how about we just kind of team up and we can make a chassis together.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where we're at now. Is we went through and we took an existing design and we really L3I'd it. Put our the feature sets we want, which
Right.
for us, we're all about bringing the sport to everyone. So we took this adjustment length of pull to where you can go all the way down to 11 3/4 of an inch and go all the way
wow,
down
that's
to 14
short.
inches. Yeah, so any ladies, any juniors, youth, they can all shoot this chassis, and it's the same chassis that the top 6 foot tall male competitors will use as well. So it's not like you have to buy a stripped down version for your wife or daughter or young son or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, that's so
And
cool.
It's got an ultra wide forend, which is it's about as wide as a normal chassis with Baker wings, pretty much. And so you don't need to run those additional wings to get the really good stability on a bag. It has these interchangeable pockets in here where you can have M-lock panels. You can have QD panels, like a sights clutch that moves back and forth.
Oh, that's nice that you can go back and forth between the two.
Yeah, and you can bolt in brass weights for additional weight. It
So you
also
know-
has internal weights. It's going to have a spigot. It has these control bridges that have M-lock on top, so you can bolt a
Mhm.
Picatinny and run it as a night vision bridge, or
Mhm.
you can just
Okay.
run it as a control bridge without the Picatinny rail.
Yeah.
It has a bolt-on magwell block just to give more guard
For
for your
rimfire
bag.
shooters.
Yeah, mainly rimfire shooting.
Rimfire shooters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There we
right.
go.
This trigger guard here adjusts back and forth. We can adjust how tight the magazine fits in
Yeah.
the magazine
So
well.
the entire magwell is adjustable, so you can fit the magwell to whatever magazine you're using.
It's
Okay.
got a really
Yeah.
low
Oh.
center axis of the bore. The chassis sits really, the action sits really low in the chassis. So the center line of your recoil impulse is at the top of your shoulder. If you have less muzzle rise, it shoots really flat with your higher recoiling cartridges, which is a good feature for center fire shooting.
We're pretty excited about it. So we'll on that one, we'll have finished production pieces in house next week.
Yeah, so there
Okay.
should be actual, like production version photos coming out next week.
That's really
Pretty
cool.
excited.
That's
We're
awesome.
gonna get 'em
Okay.
out some of our team shooters.
Yeah. Okay, so let's expand on this a little bit. So I know you guys, I had the pleasure of meeting you at the Rimfire finale just 2 months ago, for the PRS, and I picked up two of your magazines. So like I know L3I from your magazines, and I mean these magazines from my Voodoo saved my life at the Rimfire finale. I didn't have any jams. But tell us a little bit more about L3I and like what you guys like, how did you get started? Did you see a need in the community that you're like, hey, we like designing things, trying new things. We're competitors, so maybe we can make a difference. Like, how did you guys basically become L3I today?
I think really with it, like
The origin story.
Leon was a designer by trade, day job, right?
Mhm.
And I was doing some product development at work
Yeah.
at the same time. So it kind
Yeah,
of worked
I,
out where I needed some parts and I asked for his help, and then he made some parts and asked for my help to test them. And
Yeah, so he needed some actual chamber flags that fit into the magazine well of a rifle. And
Yeah.
at that time, nobody made any for rimfires. For the most part, there's a few small, rare companies. They weren't very common. So
Yeah.
I designed one for a CZ, one for a CZ Savage, one for a 1022. Because these were actually rifles still being used in NRL at that time. Well, I mean, they're still being used, but they're being used at a much higher rate.
yeah,
Because you didn't have as many custom rifles in the rimfire game at that time.
Mhm.
And all you had was 10-round magazines everywhere. So the next products I went after those magazine chambers flags was magazine extensions. And so I designed a CZ magazine extension, and then I designed the first ever Bagara magazine extension.
Nice.
And that's kind of what the Bagara magazine extension is what really I think put L3I on the map.
yeah.
Because it's the only way you could get a Bagara rifle past 10-round capacity.
Right, right.
And about the time that I had my first, so I was having a lot of magazine extensions going out and a lot of technical support questions coming in. Hey, how do I install these? It's doing this, it's doing that. And I was spending a lot of time just supporting customers. And I'm like, well, maybe magazine extensions isn't the right direction to go because it's just too much customer support. So I'm like, I want to design an entire magazine that the customer doesn't have to worry about doing anything with.
There we go.
That worked terrible. The first magazine had some issues. So I decided halfway through the development phase of the first magazine that I was going to add an adjustable latch.
Okay.
And nobody knew how to adjust an adjustable latch at that time. And so it was a complete disaster in the beginning. And that's why I really brought Jeremiah on board and have him do a lot of the R&D with the original magazine prototype. And then after a few months working with him, that's when we had the first Voodoo version ready for to put out. And it wasn't very long after that actually we went on Shooter's Mindset, I believe.
It was about a year and a half of printed products that started in, and we really jumped in. We decided to invest. We were going to stick with this and do something real. and we came out with this. And I would, if you've shot a rimfire match in the U.S., you've probably seen one of these.
Yeah.
There are
Mhm.
thousands and thousands of them out there.
Yeah, so that's our injection molded magazine.
And this is probably what really kind of made us take this as a serious company and try to
Yeah.
grow the way we are. We started out, trying to sell 100 magazines, and then we couldn't keep up with 5,000, and it just kind of exploded.
Yeah.
And from there, we really kind of just kept growing, and the evolution of it came after we went through an injection molded magazine with billet pieces. Cameron, you showed yours earlier in this.
So this is more the precursor to that product. If you want to tell the story in chronological order.
The chronological order. We decided to make the first ever billet CZ magazine.
Because nobody could buy mags for their CZ rifles except for like 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
So we wanted to get it to where guys could buy magazines year round for their rifle. Because if you get a new rifle and there's no magazines on the market, you're pretty bummed, you know.
It is.
And then
Yeah,
from
that's
there,
terrible.
we this year, I think a lot of people have seen this. This was our L3I Stinger mag. Yes, we love that. Where we wanted to make a full-size bullet magazine that had everything that we wanted in it, which was a slant channel, billet, solid, it's heavy. We wanted it heavy because we were centerfire shooters as well, and it's the same weight as a 308 mag.
Yeah.
Loaded 308 mag, and we wanted the latch adjustable in every way you could imagine. So it kind of, I didn't realize that was branded.
Yeah.
That's
going out to us.
I was gonna say, who's that?
That's one of our team shooters, Oscar Salazar.
But I think it's kind of amazing to us because we still like to shoot a lot. We're still obsessed with it. We talk about it constantly. We still shoot matches. We still practice. We still actually enjoy shooting, which I think is something you hold on to as long as you possibly can.
Yeah.
And
finding the right balance, I think, of shooting versus racking your head over the coals, trying to do better. I think you could burn yourself out.
Yeah.
So
and
we try to take things not too seriously, but just serious enough that we get good data.
Yes. Absolutely. Oh,
But we're really excited about this year with everything. We've really embraced, instead of just building a couple mags, trying to really take this to the next level. And I'd like to think that we listened to a lot of the shooters. We reached out, we asked a lot of people, we got online and asked opinions, which is a very dangerous thing to do.
Oh yeah, a lot of opinions out there.
There's a lot, but we really tried to take it all to heart with it, and then we've really this year developed our entire CZ product line with a CZ billet, a magwell that is a single piece instead of pinned. It
won't break on you.
One of the,
right.
Yeah.
And then a new bottom metal because I shoot a Manor CZ and it seemed like a really good fit when I was building one out for my boys. And then what Leon's currently holding is our new
heavy barrel.
And we absolutely fell into this on accident. We decided to make an action and order Stinger barrels and set up a supply chain and find
our bottom metal
that
you were talking about.
Yeah.
But the barrels were a very happy accident. We wanted to make our own barrel action, so we set up a supply chain meant for the action. The action got delayed a little bit, and we had
a lot of barrels sitting around.
We had a lot of blanks. So we had a lot of precision blanks, which is what people wanted.
Luckily for the CZ guys.
So we decided that we would make a CZ barrel, and right now this is most of the guys. I think Josh from Pursuit of Accuracy shot a .29 with it or something. There's been guys shooting .2s.
I shot in the .1s.
He shot.
Yeah. In the first testing, but I was indoors, so it's kind of cheating. There's no way.
No, it's winning.
It's winning for sure. Yeah, like I posted groups and people are like, "Yeah, I don't really believe that."
That's awesome.
But it was fun. The first 2 barrels, I'm like, well, if the other 398 of these shoot the same way, I think we're gonna have a winner. Because because Jeremiah was busy that night. So I went and picked up an action from his house, and I had my action, and I ran 2 barrels, and I'm like, yeah, these things are doing really well.
It's so good. I mean, that's great news that they're doing so well. That's so great. I was not gonna lie, after the finale, when I shot your magazines, I'm like, what else does L3I have to offer? Like, what else do they have? Because I mean, these magazines were incredible, and like I said, so many people use them. I originally heard about L3I from Jason Nedved because he was running your
Yep.
magazines, and yeah, and from there, it's also it's like you hear about something and then you see it everywhere, and yeah,
Yeah.
your
So I
magazines
met
have been
Jason
storming the front lines.
back in NRL 22 years
Hmm.
ago, and um, he actually Jason and I was actually a great help because he was one of the early testers of a lot of our magazines.
Yeah.
Jumped on board and really he wanted to push something new out into the market with us. And Nedved Precision, there's his plug. Uh, you know, he was brought on as an early dealer, which worked out great for everybody.
Hmm. That's so good. So, so good. Right. And then, oops. All
Oh,
right.
sure.
Yeah, so I think the direction we're starting to head as a company, whereas we kind of started out as little accessories like bottom metals,
Right.
magazine extensions,
Mm-hmm.
just like support type products for a rifle system that's already in existence, is
Yeah.
I think we're going to transition over to creating a rifle ecosystem. And that's where the Stinger action and the Hive chassis comes into play.
Yeah.
We're wanting to build a complete rifle system where everything is your custom grade products and what you come to expect in a custom grade competition rifle,
Yeah.
but in a complete package where everything works together seamlessly. Because a lot of frustration for a newer shooter who gets into the sport is they start out with, usually it's a box store rifle like a CZ, a Tikka, or a
Mhm.
Bagara,
Right.
and they do well with it and it works really well out of the box. And then they're like, okay, I want to graduate up to a more custom setup. And they
Mhm.
start putting in chassis and adding aftermarket parts. And then they start fighting these little gremlins that come
Yep.
about from adding these aftermarket parts. And they
Absolutely.
get really frustrated by it. And so we wanted to offer just a complete out of the box, affordable competition grade rifle. Because there are out of the box competition grade rifles that are really nice,
Yeah.
like
No
your
doubt.
Vitrixes and your on shoots that they just came out with that Fortner version. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a sizable investment. You're like $5,000-$6,000 rifles, and they hang with any custom, and they just work flawlessly. So
Mm-hmm.
I think our goal with the Stinger complete Stinger rifle
Yeah.
is to provide a rifle of that caliber in a price point where your more common competitors can get into it. And it's a tough task. It's a tall order,
It
and
is.
it involves a lot of negotiating with our suppliers and saying no, we need this quality at this price. But I think we're getting there. I really do. And
That's
so that kind of segues a little bit into some of our plans for that rifle would be to offer an IPRF compliant rifle. So I know
Okay.
there's some rules and regulations with being compliant with that. And we've been planning on meeting the current rules and regulations, but
mm-hmm.
I've gotten word that those may change.
Good.
So we got to pivot. I think maybe pivot a little bit, or maybe just make them in larger quantities and get our overseas shipping, exporting set up. But
That,
that's the ultimate goal for it too, as well as providing an American uh, factory class rifle for our American team to field as well.
Okay.
that
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That would be so cool. Especially since I feel like the World Championships are such a big part of the Rimfire future. Like, I mean, I just know I competed at the first ever Rimfire World Championship, and even seeing the interest of people, like it's just on their radar. Maybe they're not going and pursuing to be on the team, but just their interest in it's so much more than what it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So,
Mm.
and I know for all the guys who shoot factory or they're trying a new rifle build for the team, they're always like, okay, what could we try? What could we try? And having an American built rifle would be incredible. That would be, oh,
That's the
so
goal.
good.
That's the goal behind it.
So good. That is a good goal.
Yeah, it's like a dual goal, like offering a competitively priced rifle option, but also offering an option that's IPRF compliant as well.
Yeah, yeah, For sure.
So yeah, I competed in the first ever centerfire championship actually, and
Mhm.
that's whenever I kind of talked to Rob Ramsden and I asked him, what is the goal behind the factory class? I'm like, because there is no price limit. You can put whatever scope you want on it, and
Yeah.
in the PRS, it's like in the American precision rifle world in general, it's like we should keep our production limit, rifles as cheap as possible, and the scopes need to be as low as possible. And he's like, well, for us, for around the world, for the rest of the world, a lot of us we can't customize firearms. We have to buy them as they come. And so
Yeah.
we want an out of the box competition ready rifle that we can just purchase with no modifications. And I'm like, well, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So I never really viewed it from that perspective before.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Oh, that's so good. So good. Is there a product that you guys, I guess, would be maybe your favorite product or the product that you've been most excited for through the whole process, or that you really want to like show the community how good it is? Like, if you
That's
could
what
pick
you
one thing. There we
For
go.
me, for me, it's this. This was a.
That's Jeremiah's I told you so.
This is the I told you so product for me that I wanted
Okay.
forever. And
Yeah.
Well, Jeremiah's like, we need to make a billet magazine, AICS billet rimfire magazine. I'm like, why would we cannibalize our own product? I'm like, we're competing against ourselves.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, it's a more premium product, and guys will still want the other product version as well. And like, I don't know, Jeremiah. I think it's a bad idea. But
yeah,
I eventually came around to it.
I think for me this was a big one. It really was, because I think all of the magazines that we had building up and a lot of the products in general that we did multiple iterations through them to get to where we were. It took 5 different iterations to get here for this one.
Well, even the Stinger mag, this is an early iteration. You look at that latch and how narrow it is. It's
Right.
much more narrow.
Right.
And what we found is that works good in some chassis, but some chassis it's too narrow and it won't actually push the magazine up against the front wall of that magazine and the
Right.
magwell.
For me, though, this was a big accomplishment just because we took the time to, instead of just making a version and more and refining it, we did all of that internally. We could have launched it months earlier. We didn't. We waited until we really felt like it was capable of winning a national match. That was kind of the goal behind it. And I think I'll be proud of this one for quite a while.
I'm really proud of how we were represented, honestly, this year. So the NRL 22 championship was won by Jason Nedved, and he was running the elite mag, right?
Yeah, he ran that
when he
mag.
won that. And this year the PRS Rimfire finale was won by Shane Ward, running our +2 Rimex mag kit as well. So both champions this year were running L3I magazine products during their championship run. So worked out pretty well.
And Camden ran them.
And Camden ran them as well.
I did, and they saved my butt. They really did.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, when it comes to firearms, like, there's a lot of math and stuff that goes into, making a barrel or making an action and everything like that. But the product that I see most people bring to market and fail at is magazines and magazines components.
Oh, I'd say
Yes,
no
100%.
one should ever make a magazine. It's
I don't wish it on my worst enemy.
I mean, so
I'm stubborn.
That's right.
I'm running, your second smallest magazine, the little CZ13 round. And when I got it, literally my first match that I tested it out with, I was like, okay, all aftermarket mags are terrible, but we'll see how long this one could last. So I literally used this mag nonstop the entire match, which is not like me because I normally bring 7 to a match and don't have to reload. But I had not a single issue out of it. And I did the same thing at the next match. And then the next match, and then I decided I was tired of loading mags, so we got done product testing. But
Nice.
for a brand new aftermarket mag to work like that, that really says that you guys have done stuff on the back end before you ship it to people.
Absolutely. And I mean, I have to like just I mean, thank you guys for everything that you've done because all season, I had magazine issues and I met you guys at the Rimfire finale. You had your magazines, and you're like, well, if you like get one, and then we'll come to Firing Line when you're setting in, and we'll set it up for you and make sure that's good to go for the weekend. And I was like, oh, wow, that was so nice of them. And so, sure enough, came over. I set up one. It ran flawlessly. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go back and get a second one. You came back over and set that one up, and I mean, I applaud these magazines. They didn't have one issue. I trusted them with my life at the Rimfire finale. They did not let me down. And that was one of the biggest blessings because I could not have dealt with that course of fire with dirty magazines, mag jams, changing magazines with the high round count. So these magazines, they're so good. So
It was a
good.
good marketing ploy too, because I was over there adjusting your mags. I think it
Mhm.
was Paul Dallon's like, well, if you can get one to work in my rifle, I'll buy one too. And I'm like, I can do that.
We set up so many mags. That was the deal. Everybody's like, oh, I'll buy one only if you'll set it up. That was
There we go. They probably saw you over with me and they're like, oh, well, let's do one. Let's do another. Yeah, no,
We've
no, no.
had people in the past like, hey, I bought your mag and I tried setting it up and it just didn't work for me. And I'm like, all right, if you see me at a match, come find me
Yeah,
and I'll come set a mag up in your rifle and then,
yeah,
show you that it can work.
right.
And we've done that and they're like, okay, come set it up, show me that it'll work. And we set it up and like, oh, it does work. So I think Josh Pursuit of Accuracy was that way. When he first got ours, he couldn't get it
yeah.
to work. And then
He couldn't get it to work, and then he shot in my squad.
the Athlon ELR match in
Yeah.
Ottawa, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're
Yeah.
like, all right,
Do you
let's
guys
set your rifle out and let's set it up and let's make it work.
Yeah.
do you have a YouTube video going over kind of like the checkpoints on
We
what you're looking for when you set one of those up?
so we don't. I don't know if we even placed
I
ours.
have set up. I have created a YouTube video. It's very terrible. And there's two videos. There's one on how to load the Elite mag because you
Okay.
have to load it like a regular Voodoo mag, or you can get rim lock in this mag because it's very similar design to the regular Voodoo
Right.
mag.
Right.
This one you don't really get rim lock in.
Mhm.
So I got one video about how to load it to avoid rim lock, and then I have
Mhm.
one video on how to shim the latch to get it tight in the mag well to prevent feed issues. But I don't really have a video that really goes over height adjustments very well and troubleshooting.
As it turns out, we're not great at media content creation. So if you guys know anybody, you just
You know, I can't think of anyone.
That's
This
weird,
gal,
right?
pretty good with mags. Well, pretty actually bad with magazines. I think I've been noticing this common theme where she borrowed one of my magazines when hers weren't working too. But she's great at video. Great at video.
Yeah, like
Yes,
Yeah,
so
you
I
know what I'm
I
talking
have
about.
borrowed one of your magazines before, and whether or not I've given it back is a story for another day.
Oh, nice.
I think I said Merry Christmas 2 years ago, in fact.
It's not stealing if you have every intention of returning it.
That's right.
Exactly. See, when I see him next year, I'll just return his magazine and we'll be good.
No, it's yours. I sent you a little laser engraver so you could put your name on it.
So on Josh from Pursuit of Accuracy, he did a review on this, and he shows a little bit of setup. And then Jason Nedved also did a video, which is actually just a video that I took in my basement that I sent him. So that's
There we
about the
go.
extent of our media creation right now on how to set it up. That's something
You didn't even turn your cell phone sideways when you filmed it either.
No,
It's like in vertical format.
it's a child's playhouse in the background.
Rookie
Straight up.
move. Rookie move.
So good.
But yeah, so we've actually looked and are getting to do some content creation. There's a production studio down the street that I actually just emailed Jeremiah the other day. I'm like, hey, let's reach out to these guys and see if we can't do some content creation, especially when we get the new chassis in. I
Yeah.
would like to get some content creation showing the new chassis.
Absolutely.
We just recently had started a renovation of our website. So if you remember the old website, there's a dramatic difference if you go to the new website.
What's the URL so we can plug that one too?
So it's www.L3I design solutions.com. In
Perfect.
hindsight, I should have chose a shorter URL. We're trying to acquire L3I.com,
They won't
but they're
sell
not
it.
returning our.
They won't sell it right now. They won't.
Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know.
Cool.
I'm gonna be checking out your website.
It's still under construction, but it's about 90% there. It's a lot nicer than it used to be.
Yeah.
I
That's
created the original one, and I am not a web developer whatsoever.
It's all about little steps. At least you're moving forward. It's all good. It's all good.
It was like one of my first jobs on the shooter's mindset was, oh, somebody didn't pay the website bill and it's all gone. We need a new one.
Oh, man.
It's like it.
Ouch.
Yeah, so that's why our website's so terrible. Sorry, guys.
So that
Our
explains
website's
it.
not
Mm.
down.
So we're
Jeremiah's like,
about
why
at
is
the
the
midpoint.
website down? I'm like, I didn't have it on auto renew. So I had to
Oh.
But yeah, it was problems in the early years and stuff like that, and losing our credit card processor because we're a firearms business.
Mm-hmm.
But I hear
Happens.
tell that the new administration coming in is going to look into that whole debanking movement, where banks refuse service to certain industries or tax certain industries. So my fingers are crossed that hopefully number 47 can get us some relief on those credit card transaction fees for firearm businesses.
Yeah.
They're
But
pretty brutal.
you gotta cue the little 47 dance.
The little dance.
Yeah.
I hear Don Jr. has a Rimex, so maybe I can send him some products.
He's got one of our mags. He's got one of our mags. One Kenny's rifle.
Yeah,
I already had one of our mags. Yeah.
he has pretty good taste in rifles. I know.
Definitely.
One of my gunsmith friends posted up like a picture of like, oh, look at all these jobs coming through the shop, and just like zoomed in on the names. I was like, oh, I don't think he knew that we could
Look
see
at
that,
it.
but
I would be lying if I haven't said I've looked through some of our order lists and seen certain names and like went total fanboy.
Yeah.
I'm messing with Jeremiah. You never believe who just bought one of our products.
nice. So we're about at the midpoint of the show. Remember, if you're watching us live on Facebook, ask any question you may have in the comment section of the video. We'll ask it live on air. We were a little bit slow at the start of this because none of us could see the comments, but we can see them now. Other ways to catch us, you can always check back on the Shooter's Mindset Facebook page. The videos stay out there forever. And we usually upload to all the podcast apps the night after the show. And then finally, everything eventually ends up on the Shooter's Mindset YouTube page. So that's a great place to look up past episodes. Or videos
So we got
of the Vortex Sniper Challenge, where you might be able to see the guys.
nice. We got a couple of comments that I'm going to skip over for content requests. But we did get a few. Chris Maniquez says, yay for short people. He is a short person, and so is his lovely wife. Jesse Starkey said his injection molded mags work great, and he just ordered a Stinger mag for his Voodoo, so he's a big fan.
Nice. Thank you for the support.
And I think that's it. I'm assuming lot testing on Ely versus Lapua on the barrels is kind of a case by case, which one shoots better.
I shot both, and they were both shooting equally well. I shot Ely team, and then I shot Ely match, and I shot Center X, rifle match, long range, super long range.
Super long. Yeah, that's mine.
And all the groups are 0.2s, 0.3s,
Yeah.
whether it was Ely or it was S&K. And that's without changing the headspace either.
Okay.
So I think it's just a really forgiving barrel. So it's a taper lapped 416 6R groove, true 22 long rifle match chamber. We get a lot of people asking you, well, you say it's a match chamber, but what reamer is it? I'm like, no, it's a 22 long rifle match reamer. So a lot of people don't realize, but there's two different SAMI specs for a 22 long rifle chamber. There's the
Mhm.
sporting chamber, which comes in 99% of all 22
Yep.
firearms. And then there's the 22LR match chamber, which is the actual SAMI spec chamber for match chambers. And so that's the reamer that we chose to use. And so that match reamer has a lot of bullet engagement. So when you go to push the bolt forward, you're actually shoving that lead bullet into the rifling as you close that bolt down. So it has a stiffer bolt close than what a lot of people are used to. Because a lot of the
Right.
rifles we're running in competition kind of have a hybrid match chamber where it's kind of
Mhm.
halfway between that sporting chamber and then halfway between that match chamber,
Yeah.
where you have, about 2/3 the amount of engraving that a true match chamber has.
Mhm.
Where we went full on match chamber, and so it's a different feel. You got to run the bolt just a little differently. So we
Mhm.
have a lot of people saying, "Hey, I needed 8 thousandths, 9 thousandths shims on our barrel because the bolt didn't start getting easier until then." I'm like, "Well, you actually have too much headspace. It only got easier because you shimmed the barrel out enough, you lost enough engraving, it got easier." So with these barrels, you should be between 2 thousandths and 5 thousandths of shim. And that's why we include 2 thousandths, 3 thousandths, 4 thousandths, 5,000 shims, because it should be one of those four shims gets you the proper headspace. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out in the video as well. Just to kind of help people out that are setting these barrels up. I have another video on YouTube I just released over Thanksgiving. My voice is kind of quiet because I was pretty sick at the time, but I show how to measure the headspace, set it, do all that, but it requires the use of a depth gauge. So if you actually want to set the headspace with using measurements, I don't really recommend calipers unless you're just really good at using a set of calipers to measure depth. It's kind of an art.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it a lot, you can come up with a wildly different measurement every time you do it. So it's
Yeah.
not good for setting headspace unless you're really good at it. But yeah. So I kind of beat that subject to death. Sorry about that.
No worries.
No,
Okay.
it's good. It's good. That's
I'm
what
a
we want.
technical person.
We want to hear about it.
Yeah. So you guys
Definitely.
mentioned a shooting team. Tell us more about that. How did it get started, and what are your plans for it?
Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit about
Yeah.
that. So big news for us. We bought jerseys for one jersey for Leon. That was the shooting team as just for fun, and we decided we could actually have some fun and maybe support some good shooters and some fun people with it.
Yeah.
So we officially sent out our 2025 team invitations, and we are sending out additional supported shooter invitations tonight when I get back to the house.
Mm-hmm.
And then next week, depending on how everybody comes back on those, we're lucky enough and we feel fortunate enough in our position in this that we get to hopefully support some shooters. I think I worked for Bushnell, and we're in Kansas City, which is kind of a hub for precision rifle. We all know people that work for either GA Precision or Sierra Bullets, Federal Ammunition, Bushnell,
Hodgdon,
Athlon.
Hobbies.
We kind of all
Yeah,
shoot
yeah,
together. So it's really amazing. I think we got a lot of support starting out that maybe wouldn't be available to everybody. It's been really awesome to find shooters that we think are representing the sport well, and to be able to bring them in and have them hopefully represent us as a company. And I think we can
Cool
say
stuff.
Chris has signed his, but Chris Maniqua, and Chris is actually officially on the team now as one of our team shooters. So
Okay, awesome. Very cool. He's a fun guy to be around, so good pick up on that.
fun guy. And then it's interesting. We kind of went through. We wanted to be able to pick shooters that we're just great shooters, but also we're great stewards of the sport. Like we say that, and we keep repeating that we're shooters too, and all this. But like we want this sport to grow.
Yeah.
We really care about it. We really want this as a huge passion. Besides the business part of it completely, just we want the sport to grow. We want people to enjoy this and be able to enjoy this. and we want to surround ourselves with people that are, like-minded and kind of spread that great feeling of going to a match. It's the people you want to be in a squad with that are always really helpful. And I think it's been a great opportunity to go through the team stuff and be able to support guys that bring that to the table.
Yeah, we wanted a team that really represented the broad width of what the precision rimfire community represented. Not just your top level shooters, not just the mid-pack shooters, the shooters just getting started out, the lady shooters, the junior shooters. We wanted representation from like every little facet of the sport.
Yeah.
And we wanted to show people coming into the sport that there's aspirational goals that you can reach along the way. You don't have to get to that top tier of competitors, that top 10, the top 20 to receive recognition and to be kind of accepted and involved, in the sport and work with companies,
So
and
far,
the big thing with the team is just like we wanted to make sure we had a mutually beneficial relationship as well, because we want to make sure the shooters are getting as much value out of being on the team as we're getting from them being on the team.
Yeah.
And so we really tried to structure it in a way that provides incentives for both the shooters and for us, and to make sure that we're both working towards a common goal.
hopefully this year you'll see some bright yellow and black jerseys out there.
Oh, you went yellow, black, bright? I like it.
They
So
are
good.
obnoxiously bright. They're awesome.
Yes.
That is so
Yes.
good.
Jeremiah made fun of it at
I
first.
did at first, man. I saw the first picture. I was like, wow, that is a
Bright.
lot of yellow. That is a lot of yellow.
So some of the feedback we've gotten is it looks kind of like a superhero outfit because it's got like this
Okay.
big symbol in the center.
Nice.
Yeah.
God. That's so good.
We
Well, it's
talking like Ford 1990s yellow and a truck yellow?
Oh, it's
Uh,
bright yellow. It's
I
bright.
should
Yeah.
have brought one out here with me, honestly. If you go to the website, there are pictures of us in there. If you go to the About Us page on the website,
Okay.
you can see some pictures of those jerseys, which
Mhm.
they fit like mediums. So I think we're going to redo the sizing for this next season.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds you of Tommy Boy's Fat Man, a little coat.
Oh yeah, I love it.
We're excited though. So hopefully you guys will see
Yeah.
people out there in jerseys. I mean, I'm offering it up for them because that's obviously why we're picking these guys. I encourage you, if you have any issues with the L3I products, go talk to those guys. Every one of those guys likes to talk, likes to help people, to bring people into the sport. If you see somebody in a yellow and black jersey, you should squad with them. Just try it.
That's so
Yeah, we
good.
say it at every match. If you see someone that looks like a NASCAR jersey that looks like they want to be talked to, talk to them because they probably do.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's fun, right? And it's an adventure at that point. And then
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
year will be great because we'll have, like I said, we have production versions of our chassis coming in next week.
And we're excited to get those out to the team and get them across the country so people can see them in person.
Yeah. That was so neat to hear. Like as a competitor, I love when you hear about relationships that a company has with the shooter and a shooter has with the company, because I'm very fortunate to have sponsors, but I see it as like a partnership where I want them to know me, I want them to know
Yeah.
Camden, and I also want to know the people behind the product, because at the end of the day, it is, yes, the product that I am choosing to use, choosing to run because I love it. I love the features of it, but it's also the company behind it. And so just hearing you guys talk about your team and how excited you are, and that you're also to the point where you can have a shooting team, like congratulations. And that's so exciting. And I love cheering your heart on it. And I'm excited to see more yellow jerseys. It's kind of like when I was at the PRS Pro Series finale, you see the MDT guys in the bright green jersey, and I can just see the equivalent to rimfire is then going to be the bright yellow jerseys.
Yeah,
and
Yeah,
so
there's some marketing value to that.
No, but
for
Yes.
there's some
yes.
truth to that though, because like you're right, the MBT bright green, it's synonymous, right? Like center fire, right? Like, and
Yeah.
there's rimfire shooters too, but
Right.
it's It's center fire.
It's
That's what
mostly
it's
center
made.
fire.
Like,
Yeah.
It's a
So
shooting team, but it's almost like a shooting family because you become
yes,
close to these people.
you
And
do.
we have a
You.
husband and wife on the team, and we have a father and son on the team.
I
And so we
love
wanted to
that.
bring that kind of that family,
Yes.
that family interaction to the team this week.
Amazing. That is so cool. Oh, I'm so
Yeah.
excited. Well, I'm excited to see everyone wearing your jerseys and to see you all next year. That's going to be so fun.
I mean, just kid got stuck with me. We had three of them. We had three of them in my squad. So
Yeah, he's got two sons with jerseys as well. So when he shoots, it's like it's a lot of yellow on that squad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
The Wells
Yeah.
boys.
that's right.
Yeah.
So
But I mean, that's a great point that reminded me kind of one of my friends gave me some advice about being, a shooter like that is you go in and you meet everyone, but then you see like these guys, this is their job. This is how they provide for their families. So you
mhm,
want people that also take that kind of seriously and remember that when they're out representing you, they're representing the same thing you'd want to say yourself. So
Right.
having a team like that that really shares your values is invaluable.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, we're excited, and we will be. There are a couple of spots left, so we'll be putting out some kind of announcement on our Facebook page. Figure out.
Email Jeremiah at L3I
no.
Design Solutions with all your
So-
team inquiries.
So, just so everybody's very aware, I've gotten 2 messages about it since we've been on here.
There you go. I like it. I like the initiative. That's a go-getter.
Awareness.
I have 7
So-
followers on the Instagrams. Sponsors these.
So with all the matches and like all the trade shows and all the events, you guys started in competition and it's still a small company. How do you make time for everything?
Do we tell them just how small we are?
So yeah, we are a very small company, right? We're a 3-person company. That's it. And
Yep.
right now we're shipping thousands of products, just 3 people.
And we all have full-time jobs.
We all have
L3I
full-time
is
jobs.
completely after we get off work.
So it's it's a lot of evenings, it's a lot of
hmm
Midnight oil.
midnight oil. But
Yeah.
I mean, said it's kind of amazing to be able to create something. So I think right now it's still exciting.
It's
Yeah.
a passion for us,
Yeah.
and so it doesn't feel like work when you're passionate about it.
Mhm.
I come out here in the shop about six in the morning, and I work from home for a lot of my day job, and I get done about 3 p.m. on the day job, and then I'll work L3I until probably 10, 11 o'clock at night. Then I go in to go to bed. So my wife brings me dinner out here. Kids come out, ask me questions, help them on homework out here, and so
It's amazing though. I think we've done okay. Well, obviously, like my wife is amazing in the fact that she lets me do this and that she supports me shooting in general, just because it is kind of a weird hobby for what it is. But I think for me, I wanted to continue doing this. I wanted to do it. So the easy answer was I wanted to see if my kids wanted to shoot. My boys go to matches with me. It's a family time. We go.
Yeah.
I think probably for me, I started shooting a little less competitively and more just to make sure I'm having a great time.
Mhm.
A couple years back, it was very structured practice, very structured times when I would shoot, considerably more matches.
I really struggled this year just to get qualified for both finales, for the rimfire and the centerfire finales.
Mhm.
So I think
Yeah.
it's
But on the plus side,
both. Well, I mean, we have kind of cut back a little bit, but I think what I've cut back on is anything that's not fun. Like if I want to go up to a range and I want to shoot and I want to have a match, I'm going to make sure it's just a great experience. I want to shoot with friends. I want to have fun, and I compete. And I still want to do well,
Yeah.
but I think really it's a fine balance. So far, it seems like the balance is working.
Jeremiah is the only guy I know that can go like 6 months without picking up a rifle and then shoot a match and be like upper mid pack like every time. And he's like, "Oh, I suck." I'm like, Dude, you haven't touched a rifle in 6 months and you just beat like 70% of the people here. Like, you don't get to complain to me about that.
It's a weird thing to go from
I have to
like
shoot twice as much to maintain that level, so.
it's a very weird thing though to like a few years back. I think probably the last time we were on here, it was 30 something matches a year,
Mhm.
and it's less than half that for
You're
sure.
lucky if you probably shot 5 or 6 this
I
year.
think this year I shot 8, and that was it.
Wow.
I showed up to the finale in Idaho with a
Mhm.
scope that hadn't even been zeroed on the rifle.
Nice.
And the zero board was in this tall field of grass, and it was completely shot up. And I'm like, I'm never going to find my zero. Luckily, Matt Steiner and Ken Sanowski jumped in there and they helped me. Like, I think it took me like 30 shots.
To find the board.
I got another 30 shots left of extra ammo, and then I'm done.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But it was pretty brutal because I was fairly unprepared. I hadn't picked up that 308 and probably, well, it was the Hoppies Hustle the last time I had shot it,
Yeah.
and that
Oh,
was in
wow.
Yeah.
August, and then the next match was the finale in November,
Yeah.
and
Dang.
so I didn't do as well at the finale as I'd hoped. I ended up 4th for the season in tactical.
I felt
So-
pretty good about the Hoppies Hustle. So I shot the Hoppies Hustle last year, and then I
Mhm.
shot nothing but rimfire, and then I shot the Hoppies Hustle this year. It had been 1 year since my last match, and
Mhm.
I placed okay. I did pretty much.
Yeah, you're in the top half of the
I
match.
felt okay with that.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So finding the time is difficult, balancing everything. To get back, I think, to the original question is, being a small company, finding the time.
Yeah.
I think we really structured the company in such a way that it maximizes our ability
Mhm.
to do as much as possible with as least amount of like physical resources, human resources. So we work with a lot of suppliers, work pretty closely with them. And so I design it and I prototype it. What we're in right now, this room is basically my fab lab. So I have a CNC mill, I have an SLS printer, a traditional printer, I have a fiber laser. I'm trying to get him to buy me a desktop water jet. We're getting close. So
Ooh.
I'm in like the coolest toy shop for a grown guy that's
Yeah.
in engineering, but
Can
finding
I
time to use it's difficult. But
can I
so I prototype it, I make it
convince
work, and I call up my supplier and I say, okay, here's the drawings, here's the models, make me 1,000 of these.
Yeah. So we outsource a good chunk of it. We work with what we can. His background's in design, mine's in supply chain management, so it seems to be a really good fit
Definitely. Yeah.
for trying to grow it while still keeping it small and still keeping it fun.
But you can't forget like the secret ingredient, the
Oh my
linchpin
God.
to the whole
Oh.
operation,
Yeah.
which is my wife April. She answers every email. She organizes every meeting. Like she pays every bill. She does all the responsible grown-up human adult things.
You've been on here for an hour with us, and you can tell how hard it is to keep us focused. You can only imagine, like how.
Well, she shipped out 4,300 packages last year by herself from this desk behind me, like in her free time, while being a new grandma and a mom. It's like I'm trying to offload some of those responsibilities. She's like, no one can do it the right way. Like, I don't want to give it up. I'm like, come on, just let a little bit of it go.
Yes. She was so lovely to meet. I'm so happy I was able to meet her.
I think really though, it's being able to manage it time wise and as we grow, it's been just kind of a great adventure that although it's taking more time, we're just still having so much fun with it. And we want this to grow. We want to see how far we can take it. I'd like to think we're pretty synonymous with a lot of the rimfire matches, at least for NRL, PRS, rimfire. And as we expand more and more, hopefully that will become more and more of a common name.
For sure. Definitely. So I want to kind of go back to what you just said. So, like growing, right? Like growing L3I, but then like I want to hear your opinion and your thoughts on like what direction do you see the sport growing? What direction do you see NRL 22, PRS, Rimfire? Because you just mentioned them. So
Yeah.
where do you see that the sport's
I,
growing.
I think that precision rimfire in general is still growing, still on the uphill. It's
Absolutely.
absolutely a great sport that people are finding more accessible than center fire. And I love center fire, so nothing against that, but it's just much more accessible to the average person. And I think especially as people get in, everyone knows there's NRL right now, and then there's PRS rimfire.
Mhm.
And to me, I see them both growing in kind of separate directions, but adjacent to each other. I think
Okay.
NRL is going to expand still. I think they've done wonderful things in the fact that they have a published course of fire. Guys can go shoot that. What we found here, we have one of the largest NRL clubs in America that is our home range.
Mm-hmm.
They have 70 to 90 person matches every month. It's pretty fantastic.
Yeah.
I think if someone was going to jump into that, I would tell them, hey, that's an amazing way to go.
Mm-hmm.
They're really doing a great job of building the camaraderie that shooting can be fun and it can be
Mhm.
simple. Here we shoot out a little further because we have that luxury, but
Right.
mini NRL is 100 yards tops, and because it's so accessible, I think it's bringing people in, and that's
Yeah.
going to continue to make, especially hopefully to see all the large manufacturers take notice and
Mhm.
more products coming out for those shooters that just want to have a great time and shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
think PRS is skyrocketing it kind of a little further, where they're trying to separate themselves into the more competition level, like centerfire is, where if you want to track something a little better, you want to shoot a little further, you're willing to maybe travel more. The PRS is going to go that way, and that's going to become the competition
'Cause even if
oriented
you-
system.
Even if you look at the way the PRS Rimfire series is set up, even on a regional level,
Mm-hmm.
it's set up around having people travel within that region
Yeah.
to get their points in that region.
Mhm.
Whereas if you look at just regular NRL 22, 90% of the shooters are going to the same club every month. They're not traveling. So I think the two can really complement each other.
Mm-hmm.
Where NRL 22 can be this place where families come out to have a good time on the weekend. You build camaraderie, friends, you develop skill sets, gun safety habits, and you prepare the competitor to take that next step, that next evological step of going in and maybe competing on a regional level, either in NRLX or PRS Rimfire series, where you're traveling, you're going to these bigger one-day matches with more stages, further distances, potential, it's a higher match fee when you have the prize table. So I think it's kind of the differentiation right now. I view PRS Rimfire regional matches versus NRLX matches. They're a very similar match, but one has a prize table, one kind of runs it more like your 2-day PRS Pro match. And the other is more like a regional, like no prize tables, lower entry fee. So I think, all the way from NRL 22 Club to PRS Regional to NRLX, there's 3 different levels of competition at all 3 of those types of matches.
Definitely.
Where, I don't think there's too much overlap per se, because each type of match offers the competitor something a little bit different.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think for me, I have aspirations that, because I like I said, I fell in love with rimfire. I love it. I think it's just so much fun. I can't help it. I hope that it grows like centerfire did, where there's been some movement trying to get a pro series going.
They tried the 2-day matches for a little bit,
and and maybe it wasn't quite ready, but I think we are growing in that direction. I think the sport is going to get there to where Ken's going to have to figure that out, where at some point in the future, there will be a pro series, there will be an AG Cup, there will be IPR. Obviously, IPRF right now is only going to grow, which is where you can compete against other countries. And as that grows and that's taken more and more seriously, I think people will want that. They'll want every avenue possible for the chance to represent their company, for the chance to be as serious as they want without
I mean, there's a demand. There's a big demand for rimfire matches, and that's where you see like your PRO Outlaw series popping up, your Mars series, even a new sport, which is the long gong,
Yeah.
which is the long distance KYL belly matches
Mhm.
popping up.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people. I mean, the thirst for matches is just almost insatiable.
Yeah.
So I think there's room for everybody, and as long as everybody can differentiate the different matches and roles and really work their schedules together to where they're cooperating, the sport's going to grow faster and it's going to grow with a lot less growing pains.
Mhm.
The one thing I've seen that's caused a little bit of friction, I'd say, within the sport is uh, match directors not necessarily working with each other so much and making sure that the dates coincide in regions and the competition for shooters. I'd say if we can improve the communication between the series and the match directors to
Mhm.
really make it kind of I'd say
More cohesive.
a little more cohesive, yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think matches will continue to rise. Rimfire is going to get bigger as it is. I
Yeah.
think manufacturers are taking notice. Obviously, there's multiple manufacturers who have come out with rimfire specific scopes. You have custom rifle manufacturers, right? You have a Voodoo who's obviously really massively grown over the last 4 years,
Mhm.
and Bogaro who's coming out with a specialized version specifically meant for, a heavy barrel action that would only make sense on a barricade. Like that, I think that's great. And I think more and more will jump in. I think obviously like we're gonna try and jump in.
I mean,
I
we've worked with some other companies in the industry, so we have a little bit of inside baseball, but there's stuff coming to market in the rimfire industry that from some big players that these kind of people don't really get involved unless they see some real growth in the sport.
I think it's pretty great to see the support it's had and to see everybody being really excited about it.
Mhm. Definitely.
I'm super excited to see where it goes in the next 2 years. I mean, I shot my first rimfire match the spring of 2020, and in that, 4.5, 4.75 years, it's just blown up like it tremendously.
And it's gotten harder. Oh man, it's gotten so much harder.
It's a lot more competitive.
My God.
It has. Let me tell you. Yeah. It's going to continue to grow and it's going to be. I'm excited because I started competing in September of 2020 and it's grown kind of in some unexpected ways and in bigger ways than I ever thought. And I was like, all right, I know it's going to grow and we shall see. I think it's going to surprise some people at how fast it may take off or yeah, who knows what's going to happen, but
I think it'll follow centerfire in the fact that the guns are more accurate, the ammo's getting better, the targets are getting smaller.
I like Ken's vision for the sport, where it's like these big Bass Pro tournaments, and they're giving away Tacomas and
absolutely.
It's like, he paints a really pretty picture. Like he had me hook, line, and sinker. I'm like, that's awesome. Make it happen.
He has a great vision. I love his vision. It's like we'll get there. We'll get there.
Any way I can help. And Jeremiah, we love supporting the sport, and we're small now, so we can only support it to a certain extent. But we're blessed in the sense that we don't survive off the money from L3I. It kind of goes back into growing the business. And so we have a larger budget to support a team and matches than a normal company our size typically would. Right. But now at some point, if we ever quit our day jobs, we may have to tighten the belt up a little bit. But until then, make it rain, I guess.
That's right. Oh my God.
Oh, too good.
So, what are y'all's goals for 2025?
So, well, we'll split it. So, my shooting goal is I have another son who's going to shoot more matches with me. So, I will be bringing 3 kids to the matches. That is my personal goal. Is for us just to fill up a squad and just
nice.
That's an awesome goal.
So good.
We'll call it the swarm.
Yeah, there you go.
It's very
That's too good. That is too
The sword.
And then for L3I, like I mean, I think we're at this. Well, we are. I mean,
I want to sell one Stinger rifle in 2025.
that's the goal. Is for me
good.
is I want to show up to a match. My goal is a lofty goal. I want to show up to a match and see somebody shooting a rifle that we built.
Mm-hmm.
Just the concept of seeing that, I think, is something that feel great.
I mean, it's just surreal looking through match photos and then seeing a majority of the photos having one of our products in it. Like when the PRS was releasing all those amazing photos from Ordnance Locker, wasn't it? Or
Yeah,
that's his Instagram.
And the power.
Yeah. And I was just looking through the photos. And they're all amazing photos. And I'm like, oh, that's my product. That's my product. That's my product.
Yeah.
That's my product. I was super excited, seeing that.
That's mine. Is to see a rifle anywhere out in the wild that I didn't send it there. Like I want to just.
Yeah, so I ran this one in a match, and I took second in the NRL course of fire, like 92 shooters, and that's a super proud moment, like, oh, that's my rifle, and like I did that well with it. And then the next monthly match, I sent my CZ rifle with one of my friends, who's now one of our newest team shooters, and he won that match of 60 shooters with that CZ rifle with a brand new barrel that hadn't even been fully broken in, and I'm like, that's awesome,
like 30 rounds on it.
To see our products not only being used in competition, but performing at the highest levels in competition. Yeah. So I think our goal for 2025 is to get our rifle out there and to see it do well. As far as a business goal, it goes. Like far as me for a personal goal, I just want to get back to the finales again and see all my friends and have a good time shooting. I don't really take any one discipline completely seriously. So I shoot rimfire and I shoot center fire and I shoot tactical, and I'm building a gas gun right now, and I'm gonna have a production rifle next year again. And
man,
so I might try 300 in tactical production and gas. That would be amazing, like a trifecta. But that would require shooting 9 matches, which I don't know if I would be able to do that.
That sounds like a lot of work.
That's a lot of work.
Like I'm tired just like doing the math to figure out what you got to do that.
I was talking to Chris Garcia, and he was talking about trying to do both TAC and production 300.
I believe it.
And so I just got to one up Chris one level and go, all right, TAC, production, and gas gun.
Yes. Man, the amount of matches that he shoots, he was telling me like a few weeks ago, I was like, oh my gosh, that is, and I thought I had a busy schedule.
And we are working on gas gun products as well. This is our precision AR grip.
Love it.
I have severe ADD, and so as I'm designing stuff, I just stop designing that stuff and design other stuff. And I tell Jeremiah, oh, by the way, that those 10 items you want me to design aren't done yet, but here's a new item you didn't ask me for.
Greg, does this sound at all familiar?
This is my everyday life. Oh my gosh. When I used to have a boss, like it got to the point where like he would like make me a priority list, and like when I started talking to him about things that weren't on the priority list, he would just be like, why are you doing that? That's
I had a polygraph examiner lose his mind on me a couple weeks ago because my ADD is so severe. He just stops the test and he's like, what are you thinking about when I'm asking you these questions? I'm like, the initial question.
Like, let me get the
list.
list.
Then I'm thinking about what the next question is going to be. Then I'm thinking about what I'm going to eat for dinner tonight. Then I'm thinking about what product I want to design next. Then I'm looking at the wood grain on the door in front of me, and I'm thinking what it looks like. Then I'm wondering if people who look at clouds and cloud formations, what they look like, if they also look at wood grain and see what that looks like. And he's just like slack jawed. He's like, you're not serious, right? And I'm like, yeah, that just went through my mind. It's like, all right, well, just try and turn off your mind when you're answering questions. I'm like,
right.
My mind never stops.
Your mind never stops. Okay.
I thought it was a funny story that I'd share.
That is
a pretty funny story. Hey, now I know something personal about you. That's great.
Thank you.
But before we wrap up the show, Greg, do we have any more live stream comments before I give shout outs?
I do believe we're good on the lives.
Alrighty, so then let's roll into the shout outs. Leon, do you want to go first?
Big shout out to my wife. With her, anything is possible. Shout out to the Lord. With Him, everything is possible.
Amen.
Uh, my wife, my daughters, my grandson, all my buddies in the shooting community, all the team guys that are out there helping us, all my suppliers, my vendors who are working tirelessly to get us the best quality products in the time frame we need them. I'm missing people. I'm always missing people. My sponsors, big shout out to Van and Carly. With Apex Optics, they provide me some optics, great optics. Sierra Bullets, provide me discounts on my bullets and support me with some great bullets. Perry Precision, my gunsmith, he makes some really good barrels.
So good.
That's it. First shouts for me.
There you go.
Awesome.
I always think my wife. I'm very lucky that I get to do this, and then my kids. The fact that I get to shoot with them, and then this year it'll be the team. The fact that we have people who are willing to put their name and stand behind us. It's pretty awesome. So thank you guys.
So good. Great. What about you?
Well, we always got to shout out Hunter's HD Gold up here. Help my blind self see everything. Even if I'm not shooting, I'm still wearing the glasses because I'm blind and they're really nice.
Nice. We want you to see.
Yes.
Corey?
I'm going to give a shout out to Federal. The 7 SOM, again, loaded with their terminal ascent, was 100% still this weekend. So got a nice buck.
Nice.
Sweet. Good news.
Mhm.
Good news.
Love that round.
Awesome. Well, my shout out's gonna be Burris Optics. I am very fortunate to be one of the sponsor shooters, and I got a call from them and some emails, and I'll be actually going to SHOT Show next year with them in 2025. So that I'm so excited for. I've never been to SHOT Show, and I'm so honored and thankful that they're inviting me to go with them. So that's gonna be a very fun week. Hopefully, I don't get sick, but I know that the memories will be well worth it. So I am
Bring
very
a
excited
good pair
for
of
that.
shoes and take it easy on your voice.
Yeah.
Yes, right? Don't talk, 20,000 words in the first 2 hours.
So in about 10 days, you're going to want to start a twice a day vitamin C routine.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Among other things, we'll do D, C, A, the whole thing. But yeah, that is my shout out. Well, thank you guys so much for being on. It's good to see you again. It was good to hear about L3I, and you guys are doing incredible things for our community, and I know this is only the beginning of L3I's legacy. So, but thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you guys for having us.
Awesome. We appreciate it immensely. Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah.
Yes. All right, Greg.
And with that, that'll be a wrap for episode of 454.
No way.
I don't know what to do with my
We'll
hands.
catch y'all next time.